Welcome to WagerTalk TV. Kelly in Vegas here with Bryan Power from WagerTalk.com. Today, Bryan Power and I are picking national champs. BP, there's some criteria here that we need to break down. But first and foremost, every single national championship since I graduated from high school, you guys will have to figure out that date, except for one, has had a few things in common. Let's get into it.
All right. Yeah. Well, first off, I learned that I'm older than you today. I already knew that. But at least we have an exact year. I won't tell anybody. But yes, Kelly, you go back to 2002, and there has been only one instance of the eventual college basketball national champion not ranking inside the top 25 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency over at Ken Palm. That one exception was the 2014 UConn team, if you remember, Kelly. They were 10th in adjusted defensive efficiency, but only 39th in adjusted offensive efficiency. Other than them, everybody inside the top 25 in both metrics. So why do I bring that up? Well, what I want to do today is look at which teams currently are top 25 in both adjusted offensive and adjusted defensive efficiency and see if there's any discrepancy in the odds to win the national championship so we can find a little bit of value betting on the 2025 NCAA tournament. And as of March 5th, there are 7 teams that would qualify as potential national champions. Not surprisingly, you've got Duke, Auburn, Houston, and Florida. DraftKings currently has those teams 1 through 4 on the odds board, best odds to cut the nets down. No surprise. You've got Iowa State. They have the 7th best odds, not too far behind those other 4 teams. But you go a little bit further down the list, guys, and you're going to find what I will call my first underrated team for today's discussion, that being the Arizona Wildcats, who are 40 to 1 to win it all. That's tied for the 13th best odds, Kelly, double the odds of Iowa State, who is 20 to 1. Now, I'm obviously aware Iowa State just handled Arizona a couple days ago before we recorded this, but that was in Ames. You take away the Hilton Magic. I've got those 2 teams power rated pretty close to even on a neutral floor. And you go back to this discrepancy of 20 to 1 versus 40 to 1. I'd say it's fair to call Arizona an undervalued team. Remember, they did beat Iowa State in Tucson earlier this season. The Wildcats, you look as a whole, they were preseason top 10 in the Ken Palm rating. So it's not like people didn't think highly of them at the start of the season. There was that terrible 4-5 start, but since then they're 15-5. 6 of their 10 losses by 5 points or fewer or in overtime. Conversely, they have just 1 overtime win and 1 win by 5 points or less. So they're probably due for some better luck in close games, Kelly, moving forward. That's really, I think, important to note in the tournament that, hey, look, they're going to be priced as favorites in the first 2 rounds, no doubt about it. But that Arizona might be due for some to win a couple close ones in the big dance. Now, to play devil's advocate for a second, the one thing we need to worry about: 3-point shooting with Arizona. They are outside the top 300 in that department, and Caleb Love is in particular, a big offender. When the team loses, he's below 20% from behind the arc in those 10 games. But Arizona has 5 wins over ranked opponents this season. So it'd be foolish to write them off. Certainly capable of making a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And history says they're one of the select teams that can win it all.
Bryan Power, host of the Morning Wager, I guess co-host with our good friend
Yes.
Mark
Yeah.
Zeno. Right now, you guys have a package up at WagerTalk.com. We're getting 2 for the price of 1 during March Madness.
Yeah, so both Mark and I have been seeing it well ever since the start of February, even going back before. I think we were number 2 and 3 respectively at the site in the month of February. I personally, as of right now, am on a 27-9 college basketball run. It's pretty good. I'm not going to lie; it's the best we've done in a while. And Mark, he's been seeing it well as well. You can get people have asked for this. We do it. Him and I team up a lot, obviously, to promote the Morning Wager brand. And right now, guys, you're going to be able to get all of my picks through the Final Four, all of Mark's picks through the Final Four national championship game, to be specific. You can get all of them, every single one we release, for just $198. Quite the deal there.
All right, Bryan, there is another team whose odds are significantly steeper than the rest of this list of 7. Let's talk about the Clemson Tigers. This was not a team that I thought I was going to talk about here on a beautiful Wednesday morning, but let's talk about how they might have an outside shot of making at least a deep run here in the tournament.
So they're 17th in adjusted offensive chance they could slip out of the top 25 defensively, that is. But let's look at the Tigers' odds, Kelly. Again, 60 to 1 to win it all. That seems really high for a team being on the select list of 7 that can win it all right now. Obviously, the Houstons, the Dukes, the Floridas, the Auburns, substantially lower. Even Iowa State at 20 to 1, like I mentioned earlier. Don't forget, oh, by the way, Clemson last year as a 6 seed that no one thought much of went all the way to the Elite Eight. And there's no doubt this team this year is far better on paper. They certainly know how to win away from home. How about 7 straight road wins by the Tigers? And you got to figure that number is going to be at 8 as their final ACC road game is at lowly Boston College. You go back a couple seasons, they have won their last 5 games against AP top 5 teams as well. Now, we always like to address the concerns when we talk about these teams. With Clemson, my concerns would be one, ACC, as you know, Kelly, not particularly deep this season. And two, and I think this is more interesting, they're not sneaking up on anybody this year, Clemson, like they did last year. But still, 60 to 1 to win it all. I think Clemson's undervalued at that price, given that they are, in a list of 7 teams that can win it all.
Great stuff by Bryan Power. I have 2 teams on that list, one at 10 to 1 and one at 40 to 1. Let's see if it comes to fruition once again. It's been a 22-year basically winner outside of what did you say, the 2013 UConn team?
2014, UConn. Yes, that was it. And what was funny is a lot of people suspected that team might win it all. I remember back then. It's one of the few things I remember from 2014. But I do remember. I think I picked them to win it all. As a matter of fact, that year, I must not have chosen to give my life to the Ken Palm ratings yet at that point. But they are the exception to the rule, not the rule itself.
All right. Good luck on some of those long shots, Bryan Power. We'll see you on our next video here on WagerTalk TV.